Hello student, welcome to the class of operating system. On the previous class, we have discussed about different algorithms which are used for handling page replacement. Page replacement is required because all the pages, we cannot load all the pages in the main memory all time. But we require to load the page in the memory whenever it is in execution. So whenever a page is going to execute it, it should be loaded in the main memory. But it may be possible that at that time there is no free space available in the main memory. So then we need to replace one page and we need to swap out that particular page to the virtual memory, because we need to store somewhere that page which is going to be replaced, and whatever page is going to be swapped in the main memory, it is again coming from the backing store, that is my virtual memory. So virtual memory is basically provide a place where all the programs are going to be loaded when it is not in execution. Because of the size of the main memory, all the programs cannot be accommodated into the primary memory. So we require some place. So virtual memory actually provide us those place. So in the previous classes, we have discussed about the virtual memory and we have discussed about page fault, demand paging. We have also discussed about different page replacement algorithms. Now I am going to discuss some topics related to virtual memory in this class. Those are allocation of frame, thrashing, and there are some other issues. So firstly, we are going to discuss about allocation of frame. So page is basically coming from the logical memory. But in physical memory, what we have frames. So the frames are going to be allocated to a process. So each process needs minimum number of pages for its execution. So there are some frames are going to be allocated for a particular process, and the page size is always equals to the frame size. So it is basically the number of frames given to a particular process or allocated to a particular process that is equals to the number of page at a time can be loaded in the main memory for that particular process. So we need to, because of the size of the main memory, and we need to accommodate max to max process, so we need to allocate minimum number of frames per process is defined by the architecture, and the maximum number is defined by the amount of the physical memory. So basically, from architectural point of view, we need to allocate a minimum number of frames, but obviously it will be better if we can maximum number, but because we don't have plenty of frames, because we want to execute multiple programs at a time, and for all process multiple process at a time, and for all process pages are there, and we need to give frames to that processes. So we need to make some policy. So we need to follow some schemes. There are two major allocation schemes: fixed allocation and priority allocation. So firstly, we are going to discuss about fixed allocation. So in fixed allocation, it can be done two ways: equal allocation and proportional allocation. So firstly, what is equal allocation? Equal allocation means, for example, we have 100 frames and 5 processes. So equally distribute those 100 frames among those 5 processes, and each of the process are going to have 20 frames. That is basically equal allocation. So equal allocation means what? The equal distribution. whatever the number of frames available in the memory, that is going to be distributed among the number of processes now running in the system. So those are what? Equal allocation. And proportional allocation is basically what? It is according to the size. The allocation is done according to the size of the process, because equal distribution is not a very fair or efficient thing for all time. Why? Suppose one process size is 100 and another process size is 10. So if you give the equal number of frame to the both of the process, so for one process it's required more frames, it would be better to give it more frames. And if you consider about the other process, it will be better if it will be better, or there are more frames which are actually remain unused, because those processes actually required that. So in this way the system efficiency is going to be degraded, because system efficiency is not going to measure by the efficiency of a particular process. It is going to be measured by the average execution of the all processes. So if all processes can execute properly, then only executes efficiently, then only the system efficiency can be maintained. So if we want to do that, we should go for proportional allocation. Now in this example, you can see M is basically what? The total number of free frames available in the system. So if say it is 64. Si is the size of the process Pi. Now in this example, we have two processes P1 and P2. So here Si, that means Pi, that means P1 size is 10 and P2 size is 127. And S is the sum of all the processes. So basically in this case, the total sum is what? S1 plus S2. So the value of S is basically what? 127 plus 10, or 10 plus 127, that is 137. So AI is the allocation to a particular process. So if you think about AI, how it can be calculated, allocation for a particular process Pi, it is Si by S. So what is Si? For suppose I am thinking about process P1. Okay, so the what is the total number of allocated frame, or the total number of frames for A1? What will be the value of A1? A1 is basically the total number of frames which is allocated to that particular process P1. Again, I am repeated. A1 is basically the total number of frames allocated to the process P1. And A2 is the total number of frames allocated to the process P2. S1 is the size of P1 and S2 is the size of P2. Now what is the formula? AI equals to Si by S. Now if I's value is equals to 1, then A1 equals to Si by S1 by S into M. M is basically what? The total number of free frame. Now for this computation, what is the size of S1? It is 10. So 10 divided by 137. 137 is basically S. S is what? S1 plus S2, that is 137 into 64. So the result will come 4. Now if you calculate the same for A2, can calculate the same for A2. It is basically what? For A2, what is the value of S2? 127. So 127 divided by 137. Okay. 127 divided by 137 into 64. 64 is basically what? The total number of free frame. Okay. So it is 57. So you can see, according to the size, according to the requirement, basically the frames are allocated. The requirement of S1 is small because the size of S1 is small. So it's are going to have less amount of frames. And the requirement of P2 is large because the size of S2 is large. It is 127, which is very much larger than S1, which was 10. So the frames available for P2 is also the large number if you compare with the frames available for P1. 57 is a very large number if you compare with 4. Okay, so if you follow the proportional allocation, then the allocation is done like this. So proportional allocation and equal allocation, both are fixed allocation. So whenever the allocation is done, it is done static allocation is done. And whenever the allocation is done, after allocation, nothing can be changed. Okay, it is done. And whenever the process complete, then only the process is going to free frame. But now we are going to discuss about priority allocation. So priority allocation is basically a proportional allocation, just like the proportional allocation. But in proportional allocation, we are going to give the priority to the higher size process. But in this case, we are going to consider the priority rather than the size. So the higher priority process are going to get the higher number of frames. So if process PI generates page fault, select for replacement one of its frames. Select for replacement a frame for a process with lower priority number. So if PI is a higher priority process, then obviously plenty of processes are available with lower priority than PI. So very easily we can replace page. Because the strategy is what? We need to select for replacement of frame from a process with lower priority number. But if PI is a lower priority process, then the number of, maybe there is no other lower priority process available at that time in the system, running in the system, and no pages are with a process which are having lower priority than that particular process PI. Then how can we replace page? So automatically the priority is going to the higher priority process. The frames are going to the higher priority process. So this is basically the basic scheme of priority allocation. Here we are going to give the importance to the higher priority process, and frames are easily available for the higher priority process. Now we are going to discuss about allocation of frames. We are discussing about allocation of frames. Now my topic is address space and memory space. So in this context, we are going to discuss about global versus local allocation. Global replacement and local replacement. In case of global replacement, process are going to be selects a replacement frame from the set of all frames. One process can take a frame from another. It is not restricted that the process is going to take a frame from that process only. The process are going to take the frame from from all other process. So if we are going for priority allocation, obviously we are following global replacement, because in that case process are going to take frames from the lower priority process than the process. So obviously the process is going to take a frame from the other process. Okay. But if you are thinking about local replacement, then each process select from only its own set of allocated frames. So only from the own set of allocated frames, the process can select. Okay, they cannot take frames from other processes. So these are all about allocation. Now we are going to discuss about thrashing. Okay, so it is a very important thing. Listen carefully. What is thrashing? So basically, thrashing is what? multiple time I have told that if we want to, because CPU is a very costliest resource, very costly resource, so it's required maximum utilization, max to max utilization. So how the maximum utilization can be done? If multiple process or multiple process can execute at a time, then multiple utilization can be done. Now we are talking, so obviously, but in a uniprocessor system, it is not possible that multiple process can run at a time. So in a multi-programming environment, the thing is actually what, multiple processes are ready in the ready queue. They are waiting for execution, and there are scheduling is done between those multiple processes. And there is only one processor, and that only one processor is scheduled among those processes. So now whenever we are coming to the context of paging, now we cannot think about a process, a total process. Now basically what happened, the processes are going to be break into pages. Processes are going to be break into pages. And previously we are talking to load processes in the memory, but now we are talking that in spite of load a complete process in the memory, we can load page in the memory. So what happened then, whenever a page is in execution, it is loaded in the memory. And in this manner, multiple pages can from different processes can be loaded in the memory. So it's actually increased the degree of multi-programming, and in this way the CPU utilization also can be increased. So if you think in this way, suppose from process P1 we have loaded a particular page, process P2 we have loaded a particular page. In this way multiple pages are loaded from multiple processes. So whenever the process required, the system required some other page to execute, then obviously a page fault is generated, and system is busy in handling page fault. And if the pages are not available, multiple pages are not available, because multiple processor wants to execute, and obviously multiple pages are required for that. So multiple times, so page fault is going to be occur very frequently. So whenever the degree of multi-programming increased, the number of page fault is also going to be increased, because degree of multi-programming increased means multiple programs are in my ready queue. So pages from multiple programs are in ready queue. So for different programs, different pages are required. And if the pages are not in the memory, then obviously page fault is going to be generated. So whenever the degree of multi-programming is raised like this, so this is basically the degree of multi-programming, this is increases. So obviously the CPU utilization is increased. But it's in this point when it is reached, it's actually shown that the CPU is now busy in only performing the page fault related activities. The actual execution of the process is basically stopped. You can see there is a fall. The fall come for CPU utilization. This is because of the degree of multi-programming increase. So the page fault, number of page fault is also increased, and the CPU is busy in handling those page fault related activities. So the CPU utilization is going to be decreased. So this is basically called thrashing. So if a process does not have enough pages, the page fault rate is very high. This leads to low CPU utilization. So this is basically a low CPU utilization case. So operating system thinks that it needs to increase the degree of multi-programming because of low CPU utilization. So another process added to the CPU. So in this way, multiple processes are going to be added, and page fault is going to be increased, and low CPU utilization is going to be also increased. So thrashing is basically a process whenever a process is busy swapping pages in and out. No actual execution is done. Everyone is busy in swap in and swap out. That is basically the thrashing. So how can we solve this? There is a technique which is called working set model. So in working set model, the basic idea is what? This delta is basically a working set window, which is what? A fixed number of page reference. say for example 10,000 instructions are going to be there. So this is basically the page reference table. So in this example you can see there are two working set window. One is T1 and another one is T2. Here they are both having same size. So here the size is basically 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and here also 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So both are having same size, but these window actually have 1 2 5 6 7. These are the page reference they can have. If from these the window is open, only 3 and 4, these are the two page reference. So working set of process PI, if you consider working set of process PI, that can be represented by WSSI. So that is basically the total number of pages referenced in the most recent delta. That varies from time. So basically in this window, we are going to point to the pages which is most recently addressed. Okay, so if the size of delta is too small, then we cannot actually hold the total recently addressed page. The page number, reference number will be very small. If it is too large, then it will encompass several localities. So if delta is infinity, then it will encompass the total entire program. So D is basically the summation of the WSS, where the total demand, D is basically the total demand frames. But the total demand frames is basically the summation of all working set the process PI. So if D is greater than M, then it is basically threshold. So D is greater than M, that means the total demand of page is basically greater than M. And if it is, the policy is if D greater than M, then suspend one of the process. Okay, so this is basically the thing. M is basically what? M is basically a value up to which the degree of multiple programming can be accepted. Okay. So approximate with interval timer, RF plus reference bit, example delta equals to 10,000. So timer interrupt after every 5,000 time units. Keep in memory 2 bits of each page. Whenever a timer interrupts, copy and sets the value of all reference bits to 0. If one of the bits in memory is equals to 1, page invoking set. Why is this not completely accurate? Because it is not practically feasible. Basically, it may be vary system to system. So improvement 10 bits and interrupt every 1,000 times. So there is another technique which is called page fault frequency scheme. Here you can see a graph. A graph is going to be represent the page fault rate. So acceptable page fault rate can be shown by this. There is an upper bound and lower bound. So if the page fault is between the upper bound and lower bound, then it will be okay. If it is more than the upper bound, then you need to increase the number of frames. And if it is less than the upper bound, lower bound, then you can decrease the number of frames. Okay. So basically, by this graph, we can understand if the allocated frame, the number of allocated frame is enough or okay. Okay, so if the actual rate is too low, process losses frame. And if actual rate is too high, process gains. So by the page fault frequency scheme, by this graph, actually you can understand where the system stands. Okay, so if the page fault rate is between this area, then it is okay. But if it is greater than upper bound, that means the page fault occur very frequently. So we need to increase the number of frame. Okay, and if it is less than the lower bound, that means page fault is not occur very frequently. So we can decrease the number of frame. Okay. So there are some other issue also we should discuss regarding this. So there is a thing which is called pre-paging. So what is it? Pre-paging, to reduce the large number of page faults that occurs at process startup, we can perform a pre-paging. pre-paging is basically just like the pre-processing. Pre-processing is basically what the processing done before compilation, before the runtime execution. Here also the pre-paging is done before the start. So before the process start up, the paging activities can be done. So pre-page all or some of the pages a process will need before they are referenced. Okay, so some of the page is already loaded in the memory, or if it is possible, all pages of a particular process can be loaded in the memory before it will reference. So if we can do in such a manner, then page fault never occur. But if prepaged pages are unused, input output and memory was wasted, because the input output operation required for loading the pages, the memory that is allocated to the pages, that is basically a wastage, and memory is basically a very costly thing. The most costly thing is actually in the system. So how can we waste it? So prepage, if the prepaging is done, it should done in such a manner that all the pages are prepaged should used very frequently. So assume S pages are prepaged and alpha of the pages is used. So in case of S into alpha, say page fault is greater than or less than the cost of prepage. That means the page fault, there is a cost if the page fault will generate. So we need to prepage in such a manner that the cost of prepaging must be greater than the cost of page fault. Okay, so this is basically, it is shown that S into 1 minus alpha, that is the alpha is basically the same pages, so 1 necessary pages, so alpha near 0, prepaging is lost. If the alpha is a very large number, then prepaging is very useful, because alpha is the page is in used. But if alpha is near to 0, then prepaging is lost. So that means it depends on the situation. Now the page size selection must take into consideration fragmentation. Fragmentation is a very big issue. So for fragmentation, page size selection must be, because the internal fragmentation, because mostly we are concentrating on the internal fragmentation. What is internal fragmentation? Suppose a pages is allocated to a particular process, and some area in between the pages are wasted, then it is an internal. That means suppose a process size is 50 and the size of pages is 2. So obviously we need to we require how many number of pages? The size is 15 and each page can take 2. So obviously we require 8 pages. So if we are consider the 8th number of page, then it will not going to be totally utilized, because it is not, total size is not 16, it is 15. So 1 unit of space is going to be wasted. That is called internal fragmentation. So if the page size is very large, then obviously the internal fragmentation is going to be increased. So whenever we are going to select the page size, we need to take in consider about the fragmentation, basically internal fragmentation. The table size is also matter. Table size means where the data is actually there. So it should match. Okay. IO of a rate is also you need to consider. So whenever we are going to load the pages, the input output operations are going to be performed. So obviously page size should be done in such selected such a manner that it should not be an override. And locality. Obviously page locality is a very important matter. So whenever we are going to select the page size, we need to consider all these issues. So I think we have covered all the things related to the virtual memory. So in this class we have discussed about the frame allocation, thrashing, and some other issues like p-paging and page size selection. And we have already discussed about what is virtual memory, what is demand paging, what is page fault, how it can be handled, what are the different what is page replacement, what are the different page replacement algorithms are there, how it can be done. And in today's class, we have discussed about how the frame allocation is done, and the performance also we have discussed, effective access time we have also discussed, and in today's class we have also discussed about trashing. So this is basically all about the virtual memory. So please study, and for today, thank you, and we'll see.